Hello and welcome again. My name is Becky and I'm glad you're joining me. So this is my knitting and crocheting podcast where I do both crafts and I want to share what I do with you. I found last week after doing my first one, there were so many exceptional comments, and thank you for everybody who chose to leave me a little note or to say something or just a comment on whatever you thought about the podcast. And I got so many thumbs up for people who just didn't want to comment. And I kind of get that. I don't always want to comment on other people's things. So just a big thank you if you wrote something, whatever you might have done. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for everything. It was quite inspiring. It made me want to keep on going. I knit a lot anyways, so it's not like I knitted any more than I normally do. But it kind of like I had a little to-do list, a workflow now to kind of like, okay, I got to make sure I get some of this stuff done before the next time I podcast. So here I am. Again, my name is Becky. I live in the state of Maine, so in the United States, way up north, and we just had a little bit of a icy, snowy, weird storm. So Jason's outside cleaning up. There is a little bit of footage of him, but he's not comfortable or quite there yet to sit down with me. He just hasn't been feeling in the crafty mood. Now he does paint, and he paints quite often, and he paints quite well. So a couple of different paintings that he's done, some of my favorites, and one of the ones that he's working on. So let's jump into what I'm wearing. This is, and I should have pulled out the yarn. I'm sitting in a new location, if you didn't notice, out of the dark spare bedroom, which is literally same side of the house, just that way a little bit more. And it was dark. It is a green room. It is very dark. And I started recording as the sun was setting, and up here in the north, the sun sets, I think right now around 4:20, 4:25, something like that. So it gets dark early. I usually, once it starts to get dark, I don't know how you guys are, but once it starts to get dark, I get hungry. I'm like, is it dinner time yet? And in the dead of winter, which I guess it's the dead of winter, but beforehand, before the time started changing right after Christmas, back to starting to become a little lighter in the evening, it was like 3:50. It was getting dark, and I'm like, I'm starving. And I could have just eaten. So this, let me just take it off real quick, is a granny square shrug. This is the center, and this is just acrylic yarn. I think back in 2018, 2019, I placed a order with Premier Yarns, and it's an acrylic brand yarn. They do have some cotton and some wool blends and things like that, but majority it is acrylic. And I remember this because I remember getting these mystery boxes. And when I placed my order for a mystery box, I also bought some cakes. So some different cakes because I wanted to do some rugs and stuff underneath some of the small tables that I have in the living room. And I ended up getting this, which was a 1 pound bag of mill ends. And I think I paid $7.99 for it. I think it was $7.99 for 1 pound of mill ends, and I got this yellow, and I was not unhappy with yellow. I gave one ball away to somebody who wanted to learn how to crochet, so I gave them a ball of that to use, and it made it so I didn't quite have enough to finish. I would have actually made this a little bit bigger if I could have, but I didn't have a chance to finish. And this is a little bit of a brighter yellow, and then it goes into a little more of a muted yellow, and you can't probably tell, which is good. I'm not going to show you either. And then you make this big giant square. You fold it in half, and then you just seam up the sides. And then I had some gold that I ended up buying, and I did an edged border around the gold. So if I take it off again, because why not? It's a giant square, and then I'm gonna put it down on my lap, sorry. Fold it in half, bloop. You seam up the sides, and then I put a border around the armholes and around the whole body when it ends up becoming open to become a shrug. And with the border that I put on, the reason I did it is because then I can fold it over and it kind of becomes like a little cardigan. This is the same kind of crochet that I'm doing if you watch my last episode, and I'll show it again, with a fingering weight yarn that's cotton and acrylic for the summertime. Now I had some of this left over. It's Premier yarn. It's an everyday Premier. This is not the same color. This is just a ball that I happen to have. Anti-pilling, Premier yarn, and I ran out of the mill ends. It did not come with a ball band, so you didn't even know what color it really was. So I had to match as close as possible, and I ended up finding this one, which is a pretty close match, and that's what's kind of around the very edge. So you can kind of see, maybe you can't, if there's a difference. So I had a little bit of this left over. This is just the leftover of the leftover. And then my gold, this is all I have left of the gold. Now, what I did with the scraps, because scraps, I actually made a matching pair of house slippers. So I made a couple little pairs of slippers. Now, there is a little bit of yellow, a different yellow in there. I was trying to be creative. And then I have different heel toe cuffs for my little slippers. Normally, I just fold these down so they don't actually touch too high up, and they're a cute little slipper sock, which I normally wear when I'm wearing my little shrug. And if you're like, "Aw," or you'd be like, "How cliche." You have to have matching slippers. I have nothing on my feet now because I'm hot. It is hot out. So that's what I'm wearing. Knits. Let's go over finished objects. I only have a couple of finished objects. So first of all, if you haven't noticed, finished my sock. This is my yarn closet. Jason jokes around and calls it my yarn store. So if I go in there to look at yarn or to see if I have a yarn for a project, he's like, going shopping at the yarn store. Maybe. So I finished my socks. I need to wash them still. I just put them on blocker so you could see them a little better. So I still need to wash them. And since this is a brighter room, because we're in my craft room and not my spare room, I have the different heel toe cuff in this coral color, which is a blend, which is way over there. I didn't even grab it. It is a blend of wool and acrylic. This sock yarn is Premier sock yarn. No wool. So this is all acrylic and nylon. It's very stretchy. If you ever find this yarn, I'll actually grab the label. Really, it's not a huge room, so I didn't have to go far. It is called Wool Free Brights, and it is 93% acrylic, 7% nylon. It is a #1 yarn, but it comes in like, don't fall. It comes in, obviously, skeins. And this one just happens to be the neon orange one. And I paired it with a clearance yarn that I bought from Hobby Lobby. I was just shopping there and I saw it and I was like, "Ooh, I like these colors." I have a couple other balls that I haven't even touched yet. I got a green one, this coral color. I think I called it orange last week, but it's actually more like a coral color. And an orange, which is more like a peachy orange, and a yellow. I haven't used the yellow or the peach color yet. I did use the green in a pair of socks for Jason, and now these ones in these socks for me. My normal recipe, let me put that right there. My normal recipe is 52 stitches for me on 2.75mm needles, and I like to do magic loop. I do have some 9-inch needles, some ChowGoo 9-inch needles, but sometimes the needle is too small and it starts to cramp my fingers. You buy a pair of shorty ChowGoos, they give you 2 tip lengths, a 2-inch tip and a 3-inch tip, to put on either a cord that will make a 9-inch needle. So if you do the 2-inch plus the smallest cord, it gives you a 9-inch needle. And if you do the 3-inch cords on the longer needle, it gives you like an 11-inch needle or a 12-inch needle. And those ones I don't mind if I pair one of the 3-inch needles up with it, or just do both 3-inch needles. I can go a 2.5 needle or longer. 2 inches or less is just too small for me. I feel like I'm like, like I'm knitting in a dollhouse. I'm like, oh, I got it. I don't know, maybe it's because I continental knit, I'm not sure. But my normal pattern for a sock, I personally, for mine, I like a 15 row, round, 15 round cuff. This is 35, but I do like anywhere between a 30 and a 40. I think I actually like a little longer, especially if I'm going to wear socks in the winter with a pair of leggings and I want it to go over my leggings. I do a shadow wrap heel. I like the way it is the same on the top, up my heel and down my foot. So it's the same length. I'm not a huge fan of the heel flapping gusset. Something about picking up stitches, I'll do it, but I just don't like doing it. And I don't know if anyone else is. Like, give me like I can't take picking up stitches, or I love it. Oh, on the cardigan I wore last week, the Harvest cardigan, they have you picking up stitches, but the way you knit it, it's like a very clean knit edge, and picking up stitches was so easy on that. That didn't bother me at all, but other things, I'm just not a fan of picking up stitches. My foot, my toe, I always know one thing, if you want to knit socks, the one thing I would tell you is sometimes a pattern isn't going to help you. It'll get you there, but when it's time to measure how long you need to make it from the edge of the heel to the very tip of the toe, my foot, I think, is 9 inches long. I am a size 7, 6.5, 7 shoe. I'm not a very tall person either. I'm only like 5'2", and that's adding an extra 1/4 of an inch. So my foot is only 9 inches long, 8.5 to 9 inches long. So when you're measuring from the back of the heel to the tip of the toe, if you're going cuff down, you need to know how long is my toe going to be? And that always seemed to be a little bit of an issue for me. I'm always like, well, how long is my toe going to be? Like, I can knit, but I have to, guesstimate. So when I started reading the pattern, you can start to figure out how many rows is that actually going to be. I know my toe on a fingering weight sock is 1.5 inches. So when I measure, if I'm making my sock and I'm going to just knit until I need to start my toe, I know I need to account for 1.5 inches on this end. So I'll knit into 7.5 inches. I will knit to 7.5 inches, and then I'll do my toe, which will then give me my 9-inch sock. It does have some stretch, so I think this one I knit to 8.5 inches, and I don't have a thing with me. And of course, I now need to clean up my yarn. I usually clean up my yarn once I'm done a project, but I knew I still want to talk about it, so I didn't want to clean up quite yet. Let's see. I am covered in hair, and I want to get rid of this sock. All right. So my next finished project is I finished the cowl I was working on. So this is my cowl. I have not washed this or blocked it. I said next time we do laundry, I'm going to wash this. It's acrylic. I'm just going to throw it in the wash and wash it. But we haven't done laundry. Not because we just haven't. We just don't accumulate that many clothes. But also we have solar panels, and it has been cloudy. Today is the first sunny day in a while. So I didn't finish this since the last time we did laundry, which was probably about 5 days ago. And then I finished this off, and then I was like, oh. But I got a picture because I did wear it during one of our walks, because we walk 3 miles every day. Lately it's been most days. Some days if it's really bad, we won't walk at all. So here is my cowl. It is a nice long one. I'm going to try it on. I can't have this on. I'm just going to have that there. I like it, so I want to be able to wrap it around at least twice. That seems really awkward, didn't it? Like, let me just climb in here. But I can actually do it 3 times. How exceptional. Now this yarn is universal yarn. I do have a picture of it. I don't have the label to the purple one anymore. I do have a label to the pink one, and I've had many different colorways of this. I liked it. It's a thin yarn, and I was able to knit up a ton of stuff, lots of hats. So hats like this, which is a double hat. I just didn't, like, it's double. I just sewed it so it doesn't come apart, because sometimes putting them back together is a pain. I just cast on 12 stitches, and I did a normal increase, which would have been, I casted on 12 stitches. I did KFBs on all 12 to get 24. I knit a normal round, and then I increased every other stitch. Then I knit around and I increased every 2 stitches, and then I knit around and then I did an increase on every 3rd stitch. Then I knit around, so on and so forth. I believe I ended with 6 stitches that I knit before doing increase, which I do KFB and knit front and back increase, to get this to 96 stitches on a 3.5 millimeter needle. And that's it. And I just knit until it was time to decrease. And when it was time to decrease, I just decreased on, I knit 6, decreased. And then I did knit around. Then on the next one, I knit 5, and then I did a decrease. So I just reversed what I did until I had 12 stitches left. And then I just picked them all up with a tapestry needle, tightened it, sewed it in. I like this side a little bit better because I like how it ends in purple. If I flip it inside out, because it is a double hat, it has a little bit of a different pattern. Either which way, it doesn't really bother me. And then I knit it so on purpose I used the entire ball, but I wanted to make sure from the peak down was enough that I could wear it and still fold it, because I really wanted it folded. I wanted that extra on my ears. With this, I also knit a pair of mittens. I think I'm going to line these. They are a little bit stretchier than what I would like, so the wind kind of blew through those the other day. It wasn't too bad because it wasn't horribly cold out, but I had some mittens. So I have my hat and my mittens and my cowl. Now I did have a little extra, and I did start playing with a headband. Not loving it. My cast on edge is nice and loose, but my bind off is a little on the tight side. So I want the tight, if you can believe it, I actually want the tight side because it fits my head better. I have a couple of other patterns that I found for headbands. I don't think I'll rip this back. I'll put some elastic in it. I have some elastic cord, so I'll put some elastic in it and make it a little tighter, and probably just use this more in the springtime. But I mentioned it last week and I didn't have them on me. They were in the other room. But one of my very first socks I ever knit, I used this yarn because I had it. It was available. And I knit a pair of slipper socks. Now this is heel flap and gusset and pickup, and this has so many mistakes in it. But I only wear them around the house. I really don't care. So they're just super cute. And they're a nice big sock. They fit, but it was one of my first pairs of socks I ever made. Now I'm going to take this off. Oh my gosh, I'm stuck. This is where I'd be like, Jason, help, help. All right, so I finished my cowl, which was good. It didn't take very long to actually finish the cowl. I think I'll leave that off. I do have this beautiful, which I knew like a little crochet blanket that I made. Next item I finished, and I did a knitting time lapse for it. So you might have watched it. I hope you've watched it. But it is Jason's cashmere cabled hat. I did not use cashmere. This is wool, and I did not grab it. Did not even grab the label. I do have a picture of it, so I'll insert it. And this hat came out so well. But here's what I didn't swatch, because it's a hat, so I really wasn't overly concerned, which is why I didn't swatch. But I didn't know how the fabric was going to turn out. While I was knitting this, and we watched the knitting time lapses together after, and I was like, okay, so when I knit this, the yarn was stiff. Like, I feel like I could have held the hat out straight and it would have stayed without any assistance. And now it is soft and floppy and it's just soft and floppy. So I was like, oh, that turned out crazy. But the cables in this are insane. I mean, this is a beautiful hat. I think I'm actually going to knit another cable hat, but I found another pattern for a different style of cable. This is my very first cable I've ever knit, ever. So I've only been knitting since 2017, when we got all of those knitting needles from Jason's mom, or from after Jason's mom passed. We inherited all the knitting needles she had that her father used to make, Jason's grandfather. So this hat doesn't actually take very long. And first, cables. I will do more. I enjoyed cable. It was a little fiddly at first, trying to like use a cable needle, and then I found a DPN, a double pointed needle. Worked way better, and I actually have some, so it worked out well, which is pretty much what I got from Jason's mom. So that is what that is. This is Liberty wool. It is 100% wool. There is no cashmere or any other kind of blend in it. And I have a time lapse, if you haven't watched it, of me making this. That is all my finished objects. So let's go into what I'm doing. So last week I said, once the priority, which this was the priority, I just didn't want to talk about it because I wanted it to come up as a knitting time lapse first. Once that was done, I was focusing on Jason's cardigan. And last week I showed you the cardigan, how it was too loose, and I showed you a point on the sleeve of where it kind of fit Jason, and I was thinking about tearing back. I tore back. I tore back so much. I will show you. I'm just gonna put that on the floor for now. So here is his cardigan as of now. So remember I said it was like blousey? Well, I pulled all the way back, and here is my stitch marker for where I ended up ending. I pulled that. The sleeves weren't even connected anymore. It was literally just a raglan yoke by the time I was done pulling back. And I caked up all the yarns, and then I just started again. The first thing I did is I pretty much right where I ended, right where I pulled back, I picked up all the stitches and I cast off the arm immediately. And then I knit some of the body until my yarn cake was done that I had like re-caked up. And then I knit the sleeve, and then I knit a second sleeve, and then I finished and knit the remainder of the body and the ribbing on the bottom. The last thing I have to do, which I'm going to do this tonight, I didn't want to start it and have needles on, where right now I'm needleless, so I didn't want to start it, and Jason was able to try it on comfortably without worrying about dropping stitches. I need to pick up all the stitches and now do the collar. And when I do the collar, I think I'm going to make it a little bit wider than what the picture shows. The picture, I'll insert a picture of the Burnstown cardigan for you of what it's supposed to look like, and it's using a linen stitch. I'm not excited about knitting the linen stitch, but I'm like, just do it. It doesn't matter. Just do it. So I'm pretty excited about this. It fits him very well, and this is wool. I'm curious. I didn't do a swatch. Oh my gosh, it's so horrible. I usually do swatches. I didn't do a swatch, which means I didn't wash it. So I don't know how this wool is going to react, and if it's going to be anything like this wool where it was stiff when I knit it and now it's like floppy. Whew. And if this grows too much, which wool does grow, it might have a completely different feel. I bought, I think 4 or 5 balls of this to knit the sweater with. And then I started getting scared I wasn't going to have enough. And I bought this yarn on clearance, and it is called LRA Classic Wool Pure Virgin Wool. And it is a navy blue color. The color is the color is 85. That's, what color are you using? Oh, 85. You can't get like super navy sea blue or something cool. So I bought 2 extra balls because I was really scared I wasn't going to have enough. I will have those 2 extra balls. I think I'll have just enough yarn in my yarn bag to complete this and still have some leftovers. You think you're doing good and making sure that you have enough yarn, and now you have too much. I'm not trying to destash or get rid of anything. I just want to use what's in my closet before I buy more, and I freaked out and bought more. My closet is actually full behind me, and no, you can't see. So this is Jason's cardigan. This will be done before next time, and he will probably have worn it at least twice before you see it again. So I don't know what else to say about it. I want to pick it up. I want to get it done. I want it off my needles because I'm not starting any big projects until this is done, because this I want to make priority. I want to get this done. I've only been working on it since think I started it right after Christmas. So I haven't been working on it very long. But when I tell somebody, especially Jason, who's extremely knit-worthy, I'm gonna make you this, I want it done like that moment. I'm like, there it is, done. And it doesn't work that way. So that's Jason's cardigan. Now I have started a couple projects because I'm itching to fix one. Now I have this beautiful white shirt that I tried to knit, and it is a beautiful lace work, and I have it here and I will try it on for you and put in some footage. It is loose. It is baggy in the back. It doesn't fit very well. I knit the size medium. I am on gauge, but it's just horrible. I would not wear it. When I put this on and I see that, I am not going to wear this. And so my thought is, why are you keeping something that you will never wear? And I don't want to knit it just to donate it. I want this item. So it is my cotton white shirt. It is a free pattern from Yarnspirations. So this is the pattern, and I really like this lace work. And yes, live stitches, because I plan on ripping this out. I like that, everything about it except that it's huge. Like, look at that. Like I could fit an extra. I don't know. I just don't know. Oh, it's not easy. So I started knitting it again. I still had a ball left. This is called, I had a tag somewhere. Oh, here it is. This is Universal Yarns Cotton Supreme DK. I got this on clearance for $7.89, and then I went back to the same yarn store because it's in my area. Well, not my area, but where I travel to. And they had some on sale for $5. They had it on double clearance, like super clearance. So I bought another ball. I had this in this sweater because this sweater is so baggy, it's so big. I was like, well, maybe if I add more, I could just turn it into a dress. No, nope, just looked like a white trash bag at that point in time. So now I'm trying to do it again. So I did the neck ribbing and I did the short rows. The next step is to do the lace work. And I really love the lace work, but it's 39 rows. And once I start, I kind of just want to plug away at it. And I feel that if I start plugging away at it, I'm going to not do Jason's cardigan. And I really want to get his cardigan done. So I just did a little bit, a little taster, a little teaser to get me started. And then I didn't want to pull this back until I showed you guys what it was and the why am I pulling it back. This is supposed to be a baggy shirt, but this is a little too baggy for me. Sometimes I also get my chest measurements wrong. I think my chest is a lot bigger. Who doesn't want that, right? But when it comes to clothing, you don't want that. So I always veer towards the bigger size instead of just like actually knitting my size. So this is being pulled back and I'm going to knit a new version, the smallest version. They have extra small and small, medium large, and I think like 1X, 2X. It's a Yarnspirations pattern. I'm going to knit the extra small size because this is the medium. And I can't. It's too much fabric. So that's one piece I'm working on. It is 100% cotton. It is so soft. It was funny because when I was knitting this and I had to put it down, I was like, oh, I hit the spot where I wanted to be. I have to put it down. This yarn is so soft compared to 100% wool. This is rustic feeling. Like it's like sandpaper, and this is so soft. And Jason felt bold and he's like, oh my, yeah. The other thing I have started is another shirt, and this one's I'm actually going to tear back, and I stopped myself from tearing it back. I just started it yesterday because it's not exactly the shirt that I want. This is a fingering weight yarn. I was hoping it'd be a little more DK-ish size, but it's not. It's fingering, so my gauge isn't coming out right. And I'm just going to make a tank top. I just want a nice yellow tank top. So I started knitting this one. It's bottom up construction, and it is Jessie made. It's Jessie made design, and it is her secret summer top. and it is currently a free pattern for COVID. And the color's lovely, the yarn's lovely, the pattern's lovely, but my gauge isn't coming out right. So with my gauge not coming out right, I'm like, okay, I just need to rip it back. I either need to use bigger needles, or I just want to knit a completely different pattern. I think I'm going to knit this. I do have another yarn. I think I'm going to knit it in, just not this one. And I really see myself wearing this tank top with like a really cute black skirt. So I'm going to use this yarn to knit a different pattern, and I'll show you it here because I cannot remember the name of it. And it is split ribbing tank top, worked bottom up, which I'm okay with. And yellow supposedly is supposed to be like my color. I would love to know what you think, if you think yellow works for me, because I don't know. So there's that. The yarn I'm using is an exceptional yarn. Let me show you, because I grabbed it to show you. This yarn is from Classic Elite Yarns. It's the same yarn company I got Jason's cable hat yarn from. And this is called Suro, and it is 85% Pima cotton, 15% alpaca, and it feels so soft and lovely. I'm excited because just working with this a little bit, I was like, yep, just want to keep on knitting. It is considered a fingering weight yarn. It does not have a color, obviously. It's yellow. It is color number 7112. This company is not in business anymore. So when I bought this yarn, I got it on clearance, super clearance, super clearance for $1. These are 50 gram skeins, and I have 4 of them. So I'm going to make a tank top. I probably only need 2 or 3 of these. So I'm going to make a tank top for like $3, $4 max. Oh, we have sales tax in the state. So $4.20, maybe 21 or 22 cents. I don't remember what the sales tax is. You just pay it after a while. You don't even think about it. So that is the next project that I had started. As for works and projects other than Jason's thing, I am still working on my crochet shrug, and let me show you. I fixed my bag. Remember how I was like, oh, everything's gonna fall out? Well, it just so happens in this closet of mine, I think it's Narnia in there, I happen to have some purple paracord. So I just folded the edges down and did a little sew along and fed some paracord through and made a drawstring little bag. It's a little bigger than probably what I'd want for a size, but I have this huge cake in here, and this cake is a twister cake I got from Hobie. So it is twister, 50% cotton, 50% acrylic. I just went to their site last week or the week beforehand, and I don't think they sell a 50-50 blend anymore. I think it's a 60-40 now. This I got back in 2018 or 2019. So it is called Twister, and it is by the company Hobie. This colorway, which is color number 21, is their pink one. I have another project going, but I haven't touched it, so I wasn't going to show you again. This one is the dark blue twist, and it starts out with gray, and then it goes to a blue, and then a darker grayish blue color. And I have made quite a bit of progress. I have been bringing this to bed with me every night. It's kind of funny because I'll sit up in bed. Obviously, I'm not laying down and crocheting. I wish I could. I don't think I can. So I've been bringing it to bed with me, but I've been sitting up, and obviously I sleep with my husband, Jason, but I'll start to slowly turn like this while I'm doing it, and I'm sitting up and I'm not leaning on the pillows or anything. And he just instinctively starts rubbing my back. I'm like, well, I'm crocheting every night now if you're going to give me a back rub. So I got a ton of work done. Look at that. Looky there. This is where I was. I twisted myself. Sorry. This is where I was last week when I showed you. Just had a little tiny square. And now I've like grown. And this is going to be a shrug. Just like the yellow one I was wearing. This is going to be a shrug. I'll fold it in half when it's done. And then I will seam up the sides. And then when I do, after you seam up the sides, you can open it and it becomes a little shrug. And then I'm hoping I won't actually need all of this. If I do, I'm going to buy something else. But I'm hoping I can use the dark gray exterior as a border for the arms and around the collar. I like wearing these. They're quick and easy to throw on. This is cotton and acrylic, so it's cooler. It keeps that heat away. But when we sit outside, we have a beautiful deck. And if you stick with me, you'll see it in the summer because that's where I usually knit in the summer. And I'll probably do podcasts out there. I have like wildlife creatures and friends that come and visit all the time. I have a beautiful chipmunk and chickadees and all these other crazy birds and things that come to visit all the time. So like literally they like hop on my lap. They come when you call. So that is my shrug. This is going to be a long project. This is nothing that's going to take a while. I mean, this cake is still pretty darn dense, so it's going to take a little bit of time. So I'm not in any rush for that. I have been liking taking it to bed and working on just doing a round. As it gets bigger, it'll only be like a half a round or a side or something like that. So that's it for crochet that I'm going to talk about anyways. Now, quickly, I did go out shopping, not on purpose. We just had to stop and grab some buttons for Jason's cardigan. So while I was getting buttons, and I didn't even grab them, they're way on the other side of the room. They're just wood-looking plastic buttons. I'll show you when the project is done, his buttons. But I did just buy one ball of yarn. We were at Hobby Lobby, and they, every 2 weeks, I think, they have a sale for their yarn where you get 30% off yarn. You don't need a coupon. You don't need anything. It's just there. You just get 30% off. And I saw some, I usually look for sock yarn because that's what I really like knitting. And I saw this cotton sock yarn. It is Premier Yarn Cotton Collage. The price was, this is what it will look like when it's all knit up in a sock. The price was $4.99, but I got the 30% discount on it. So it was $1.50 off. So I ended up paying like what, $3.50 or something like that. So this is my one big purchase. I don't know the word. I can't say it. Purchase. Just because I wanted to try it out. It's a 50-gram ball. I'll probably just make a couple pair of shorty socks out of it. I'll probably do the same exact thing with this, but in cotton. I have to gauge swatch this though. There is no stretch to this yarn. Like there's no stretch to it. And that's me trying to pull on it and you know, mess the ball up. So without there being any kind of pull, I'm probably going to have to put more stitches on. Normally I'm 52 stitches for my sock. I might have to go to 56. And I always do multiples of 4 for my socks. So that's a quick acquisition. So I want to talk about crochet. Crochet to me is where my roots started. I learned how to crochet in my early 20s, so that was about 20 years ago. If you can't tell my grays, I'm letting grow in. I'm not a spring chicken. I'm more of like a late summer chicken. So I just kind of want to talk about crochet. My mom taught me, and I said in the last one, my mom was super excited when I was like, hey, can you teach me how to do that? And she's like, absolutely. So she taught me how to crochet. Now I have my very first crochet project. My very first crochet project, my mom came out with this pink yarn and let me borrow this crochet hook. It is a Susan Bates H 5mm, size 8. I like to go by millimeters. It's a lot more kind of like a number. It's lined up properly instead of H or 8 or G, or it's a 5mm, and it is a Susan Bates aluminum crochet hook. This is like a killer crochet hook. It hurts because there's writing here and writing here, and I was taught to hold my crochet hook like a pencil. So this is the yarn my mom gave me, and this is my first project. It's a blanket for my cat. I don't have any cats anymore. Unfortunately, my cats have passed on. They lived to a ripe old age of 17 and 21, but that was a while ago. And Jason had the cats before we met, and we met in the year 2000. So we've been together this year. The beginning of March will be 23 years we have been together. Seems like 3 actually. I don't know if anyone else can attest to that when you find that person, time flies and it doesn't seem like you're dreading being with them. It's more of just Can't seem to get enough. Back to crochet. So this is my loose gauge, and then I tightened up quite a bit as I went. When I was done with this, I was like, Mom, can you teach me how to do something different? And she taught me how to do a granny square. After that, I ended up kind of putting my crocheting away. I didn't do much with crochet. I knew how to do it. I'd piddle around once in a while, but my mom was still crocheting, and she got this crochet hook, and it's this specific crochet hook is the one. This one was the one I took from my mom. I borrowed it. I never gave it back. She was fine with it. But then she ended up buying this one, and she bought this years ago. When Clover first came out, she bought this one crochet hook, and it is a Clover Amore, and it is a 6mm. It is the one that is brown, and this one crochet hook cost her $22. And I remember her being like, oh, this is my crochet hook. And it was the first time we really had been exposed to a comfort grip. And I was just like jokingly, because me and my mom had a really good joking relationship. I'm like, ooh, this is nice. Can I have it when you die? She's like, yeah, sure. And then when she passed away, I was like, I'm seriously taking this. So I ended up taking it. I know this one's hers because I have my own set, because I put a little tiny black dot on the very bottom. It's still there-ish. You probably cannot see it at all, but there's a little tiny black dot that I put in the manufacturing dot that's there. Like, you know how there's always a little divot at the bottom? I put a black dot in it, so I know that one's my mom's. So from there, I got really inspired. I did buy my own set. Jason also has his own set. We also have a set of tulips. I have a cheap set that I bought from Amazon, and I have my own aluminum set also. I like to have extra sets around for keeping in my knitting projects also. So if I drop a stitch, I can just pick up a stitch really quick with a crochet hook. But I started getting really good at crochet. I started watching videos. I started really enjoying the crochet aspect. So then I started creating, and I never thought anything would come of it, but now I'm rethinking that decision. So something that I created, and I have a couple of different things around that I've created, but one of the things was this shawl. So this was the shawl, and I'm not quite sure how well you can actually see, but it is a butterfly shawl, and I'm using, this is Lion Brand's Next Best Thing. It's a weird, but it's like their shawl yarn, and it's an acrylic yarn. I think there's a little bit of wool in it. I think it's like a 90-10 or something like that, 90 acrylic, 10% wool. And this is a nice little drapey shawl. It's nice and big. It's a little bigger than what I wanted. I think I was going for more 5 feet, and this is like 5 feet 6 inches ish, maybe 8 inches. So it's a little bit bigger than me, and really a shawl should only be as big, as long as fingertip to fingertip, just like a scarf. And when I created this, when I did it, I took the motif and I just kind of stacked them up on top of each other. And now looking at it, I'm not sure if I like that so much. Obviously, I'm not tearing this out. I absolutely love it. I use it often. It sits on the back of my sofa. It keeps me very warm. But I was thinking, if I was to design this and put this pattern out, I would offset it. So one of these would be in between the ones. So it'd be an offset pattern, more like a zigzag pattern. I'd love to know if anyone out there would be interested in a pattern like this, because I was thinking about writing it up. It shouldn't take very long to write it up and create the chart for it. I do have a chart called like Stitch Chart or something. I had it a while ago. So I can actually create the chart for this pretty darn easy. And then I can just do up a quick like little scarfy shawl thing, or swatch to see how it would work out. But this was something that I had created. Somebody asked me a question, and this will be probably the end. Somebody asked me a question about how long I've been knitting and crocheting. Well, I think I answered it, but in a summary, crocheting I've been doing since I was in my mid-20s, so about 20 years. And knitting I just picked up a few years ago, back in 2017. So math, 6 years now, 5 years now for knitting. I knit continental. I find that's very similar to crochet. So if you're a crocheter who's trying to break into the knitting world and you're finding it hard, difficult to do, try swapping and looking up continental knitting, where you're actually holding the yarn in your left hand instead of trying to wrap it with your right hand. It's a different movement if you're a crocheter. So if you start to, I think it's called picking, like where you pick your yarn. Like when I'm knitting, and I have a couple knitting things when I'm knitting and I'm knitting continental, I'm just grabbing the yarn, I'm picking it. It's almost like crocheting to me. So it was something that was very easy to get into when I did start to knit. I used to knit where I wrapped the stitch, and that was just difficult. And then when I learned the continental, I think I said it last week, that was a game changer for me. It made knitting so much more enjoyable. I was able to actually bust out a project and feel confident that I was able to get that project done. One last thing, things that I was planning on starting. So once Jason's cardigan is done, once I've made Jason's cardigan and it's all made, I plan on casting on myself a cardigan. With his extra wool, we were talking about what to do with it, and I think I'm going to make a vest for myself out of the leftovers. And I also have this little bag, and this is a canvas tote that I have. It's like a miniature canvas tote. I bought all my sister-in-laws and I think my mom one, and filled it with like Christmas presents one year. So they had a little tote that they could use at Christmas. And this was my birthday yarn. There's no color unless this information is just color 8. So weird. Like I have no good color names. I'm like, ooh, let's buy this no name number 8 color. This is a sock weight yarn that I plan on making. This is my birthday yarn I bought. And I plan on making some socks out of it. I just need to divide it into 2 because the colorway, it is a speckled colorway. I will not do a different heel toe cuff. I don't have anything that really matches this yarn base. And I'll split it into 2 balls so I can start and hopefully get these color patches in the same area after it's caked up. Other than that, I have this. And this yarn is Barocco Vintage DK yarn. I use this yarn to knit up socks for Jason's dad every year for Christmas. So this year he got a gray sock with a black heel toe cuff. I also use this in my winter autumn socks, I think I called them, for Jason. He picked out this color. He loves orange, burnt orange. So he picked out this color and I used the black for heel toe cuffs. Now I have this purple one that I bought that I would like to make a pair of socks for me out of. And I think I'm going to pair it with the gray for purple and gray socks. And the gray will be the heel toe cuff and the purple will be the main color. And then Jason, what I'd like to do is use some of the black and gray to make a striped sock. And then I'm going to do the orange as toes and heels. I don't think I'm going to put it in the cuff. Or if I do, it's just going to be a stripe in the cuff. Or like a little bit of a band around the top. This is DK weight yarn. I use a 3.25 millimeter needle. I might use this one. I put this in here. This is a Knitter's Pride Dreams. It is a wood needle. It is a 9-inch and it's a 3.25. This is Jason's needle. He really likes working with wood. I prefer metal. But I don't mind this. It's a 2.5-inch, 9-inch. The needle is 2.5 inches. So I don't mind this one. So I might use this one for one of them. I've never done my heels on a 9-inch needle. Once I started doing that shadow wrap heel, this like shadow wrap heel, I've only ever done it on magic loop. So it's not difficult. I mean, I've memorized the heel. I can do it in my sleep practically. But I've never done it on a 9-inch, so I was thinking like, ooh, maybe I'll try it. I'll experiment on Jason's sock. He'll never know. He takes all the experiments. However, I do have a fixed, I think 36-inch or 40-inch 3.25 on ChowGoo that I'm going to probably use for another set. So I'll probably, when I cast them on, I'm probably going to just cast 4 socks on if I can, or at least 2, one of mine, one of his. And just kind of bust those socks up. They don't usually take me very long, and I like having socks to travel with. I will also, once I finish this, and this will be tonight, I will cast something on because I think Jason's taking me out for a dinner or a lunch at the end of the week. A date. And I would like to recast this on. I'll recake it up and recast this on to the other shirt and rip this one out. Rip this out, recake this up, and I might cake up a second yarn just so I have it, and it will go in my little travel-y bag. So when we do go out to lunch, I have something to work on. Usually I have plenty of time to knit a couple rounds. So I would like to get this going because I'd like to be able to have it for before spring starts. I know everybody's talking about sweaters and winter, and I'm like, I'm ready for spring and summer. So I'm knitting all the spring and summer things. Well, that is the content I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to know, what do you do? Are you a knitter? Are you a crocheter? Do you want to learn to knit? Do you want to learn to crochet? Is there anything I can help you with? You guys get to listen to me talk, and if I have questions, most people are there to answer whatever I have for questions, like should I keep it? Should I rip it out? What kind of questions do you have for me? If any, I'd love to answer them. Again, thank you for leaving me any comments previously. I highly love reading these comments. It gives me something to do every day. After I'm done my little knitting in the morning with my coffee, I get to go and read comments. So thank you. Thank you so much for leaving me a great comment, being here, subscribing. I hope that you stay and you stick around, and I hope there's more that we can do together. And I hope you like the knitting time lapses. I'm trying to get better at editing those because the first couple I rushed, and now I'm like, don't rush, take it time, figure out what you like to do. So I'd love to know your feelings. I'd love to know if you have any questions. And thanks for coming again.